I'm Viola, and I thought this weekend in the Blue Ridge Mountains with my husband Ethan and his closest friends would be our chance to reignite the spark that's been fading from our marriage. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the rugged peaks in shades of amber and shadow, I felt a thrill of escape from our mundane life. But under the cover of darkness, around a flickering campfire, a dangerous game unfolded. One that stripped away my defenses and tempted me into a betrayal I never saw coming. Now, with guilt clawing at my heart and Ethan's unsuspecting smile cutting deeper than any knife, I'm trapped in a web of secrets that could shatter everything I hold dear. What did I do in those stolen moments, and will the truth come crashing down before we even make it home? Picture this. The world outside my window is a blur of amber and shadow, the last slivers of daylight clawing at the horizon as if they're desperate to stay. I'm Viola, 28, and right now I'm tucked into the passenger seat of our beat-up old truck, the hum of the engine vibrating through me as we climb higher into the Blue Ridge Mountains. My husband, Ethan, is behind the wheel, his calloused hands steady as ever. At 30, he's got this rugged edge to him, broad shoulders, a scruffy jawline, and eyes that always seem to be searching for the next thrill. He's an outdoorsman through and through, the kind of guy who can start a fire with nothing but a flint and a smirk. We've been married 3 years, and while I'd say we're solid, there's a predictability to us lately. I'm used to him taking the lead, especially on adventures like this. He planned every detail of this getaway, and I was all in, craving an escape from the beige monotony of our suburban life in North Carolina. I glance at Ethan, his profile sharp against the fading light, and I can't help but feel a flicker of excitement. This trip, it's more than just a break. It's a chance to shake things up, to step out of the routine that's been creeping into our days. We're not alone, though. In the trailer hitched behind us, and in the truck bed, are Ethan's 4 best friends, guys he's known since they were scrappy teenagers causing trouble. There's Jake, 29, the loudmouth of the bunch, always ready with a wild story or a laugh that echoes for miles. He's the kind of guy who fills any silence with his energy, whether you want him to or not. Then there's Marcus, 31, the quiet one. He's always watching, taking everything in with those deep, thoughtful eyes, like he sees more than he lets on. Travis, 28, is the daredevil, built like a linebacker and always chasing the next adrenaline rush. He's the one who'll jump off a cliff into a river just to say he did. And Caleb, 30, rounds out the crew with his silver tongue and easy charm. He can talk his way into or out of anything, making you feel like you've known him forever, even if you've just met. These guys, they're a pack, tight-knit in a way that only comes from years of shared history. Ethan's right in the center of it, their unspoken leader. And me? I've always felt a little on the outside, trying to carve my place in their dynamic. I love Ethan, and I get along with them fine. But there's this undercurrent, this sense that I'm still proving myself to fit into their world. Still, I was thrilled when Ethan suggested this trip. A weekend in the wilderness, just the 6 of us, away from cell service and strip malls. It felt like as we pulled into the clearing, the tires crunching over gravel and pine needles, I felt the weight of the journey lift off my shoulders. The Blue Ridge Mountains loomed around us, their dark silhouettes cutting into the twilight sky like ancient guardians. I hopped out of the truck, the cool mountain air hitting my face with a sharp, clean bite. The scent of pine was everywhere, thick and grounding, mingling with the faint musk of damp earth. Somewhere in the distance, an owl let out a low, haunting hoot, and the rustling of leaves whispered secrets through the trees. This was it. Our escape. Our little slice of nowhere. Ethan was already in motion, popping open the trailer with that determined stride of his. I watched him for a moment, his broad frame moving with purpose, and felt that familiar mix of awe and comfort. He started barking orders, his voice carrying over the clearing with a friendly authority that made everyone snap to attention. All right, let's get the big tent up over there by the flat spot. Keeps us off the slope if it rains. Viola, can you grab the stakes? Jake, quit goofing and help with the poles. I couldn't help but smile as I hauled the bag of metal stakes from the trailer, their weight clinking in my hands. Ethan was in his element out here, and seeing him take charge like that stirred something warm in me. A quiet admiration for how effortlessly he led. Jake, of course, couldn't resist chiming in as we started setting up the communal tent. "Hey, y'all think bears can unzip tent flaps? 'Cause I ain't waking up to no furry roommate sniffing my boots." His laugh boomed through the forest, rough and infectious, and I rolled my eyes but couldn't suppress a grin. We hammered the stakes into the ground, the rhythmic thud of mallets mixing with the natural soundtrack of the woods. My hands ached a little from the effort, but there was something satisfying about it. Like I was building more than just a shelter. Maybe a stronger tie to this group. Marcus was beside me, helping unfold the sleeping bags inside the tent once the frame was up. His silence hung between us, not unfriendly but heavy, like he was always lost in some private thought. I tried to break the ice, my voice a little too bright. "So, Marcus, you camp a lot growing up, or is this more Ethan's thing?" He glanced at me, his dark eyes unreadable for a second, before he shrugged. "Some. Mostly just tagged along with these guys. Never had much choice." His tone was flat, and I fumbled for something else to say, feeling the awkwardness creep in like a chill. I focused on smoothing out the sleeping bag instead, the nylon slick under my fingers, hoping I hadn't overstepped. Nearby, Travis was showing off as usual, scaling a sturdy oak like it was nothing to hang a lantern from a high branch. "Check this out, Viola." Bet as the night settled over our campsite, the air grew thick with the scent of pine and the smoky tang of the campfire Ethan had built before he wandered off to gather more firewood. I sat on a log near the flickering flames, the warmth barely keeping the mountain chill at bay, while the guys and I passed around a deck of cards. What started as a simple game of poker quickly turned into something wilder, rowdier, with each round. Jake, always the instigator, slapped his cards down with a grin that spelled trouble. "All right, y'all, this is getting too tame. How about we switch things up? Drinking game with dares. Loser of each hand takes a shot and does whatever the winner says. No backing out." His voice carried that mischievous edge, and the others hooted in agreement, their energy infectious. I hesitated, my fingers tightening around the cold beer can in my hand. Dares? That sounded like a recipe for chaos, and I wasn't sure I was ready to dive into whatever Jake had in mind. But the alcohol I'd already sipped was buzzing through me, softening my edges, and the group's encouragement. Travis nudging me with a playful elbow, Caleb flashing that disarming smile, pulled me in despite myself. "Fine," I muttered, a nervous laugh escaping me. "But y'all better keep it reasonable." Jake's booming laugh told me reasonable wasn't in his vocabulary. The scene around me painted itself in vivid, hazy strokes as the night deepened. Empty beer cans littered the ground near our logs, their aluminum glinting in the dim light of the lantern Travis had hung earlier. That lantern flickered now, casting jittery shadows across our faces, making the whole setup feel like something out of a fever dream. The forest beyond our little circle had gone eerily quiet, the earlier rustles and hoots swallowed by the dark, leaving only the crackle of the fire and our own raucous laughter to fill the void. It was like the mountains themselves were holding their breath, watching us spiral. The game kicked off with Travis daring Caleb to spill an embarrassing story after losing a hand. Caleb, ever the charmer, took a long swig of his beer, his eyes glinting with something playful as he leaned forward. All right. Picture me at 16, trying to impress this girl at a bonfire. I thought I'd be slick and jump over the flames. Ended up singeing half my eyebrow off. She laughed so hard she cried, and I still got her number. His voice dipped low at the end, smooth as honey, and his gaze lingered on me just a beat too long as he finished. I felt a flush creep up my neck, hot and sudden, and I blamed it on the beer, though my heart was thudding a little faster. I caught Marcus out of the corner of my eye, his usual silence now feeling heavier, his stare fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. What was he thinking behind those unreadable eyes? Jake, never one to let a moment sit still, upped the ante as the rounds went on. "Come on, let's make these dares personal. Dig deep, folks. Secrets, hidden wishes, let's hear 'em." His grin was all teeth, and the air shifted, charged with something I couldn't quite name. Before I could brace myself, Travis turned to me after I lost a hand, his tone half teasing, but sharp enough to cut. "So, Viola, ever think about stepping outside the lines? You know, with your marriage. Ever wonder what else is out there?" My breath caught, my mind scrambling for a response as my heart pounded against my ribs. No, I mean, not really," I stammered, my voice betraying me with its shakiness. But the guys didn't ease off. Their words grew bolder, their looks more pointed, like they were peeling back layers I'd kept tightly wrapped. The tension coiled tighter with every passing minute, my mind spinning from the mix of guilt and a dangerous curiosity I couldn't shake. The alcohol dulled my better judgment, blurring the lines I'd always held firm. My heart is still hammering in my chest as I stand there, the weight of what just unfolded pressing down on me like a physical force. I can barely breathe, my mind a chaotic mess of regret and panic as I try to pull myself together. My hands are trembling, almost uncontrollably, as I run them through my hair, smoothing it down like that'll somehow erase the last few minutes. I tug at my jacket, adjusting the collar, straightening the sleeves, anything to look like I haven't just crossed a line I can't uncross. The cool mountain air bites at my flushed skin, but it does nothing to calm the storm inside me. I glance at the guys, and they're just as rattled, their movements jerky and unnatural. Jake's pacing a few steps away, rubbing the back of his neck, muttering something about needing another beer, his usual bravado nowhere to be found. Travis is kicking at a loose rock, his broad shoulders hunched, avoiding everyone's gaze like he's afraid it'll betray him. Caleb's pretending to busy himself with stacking the empty cans, but his hands are unsteady. And Marcus just stands there, his face a mask, those deep eyes of his darting between us like he's waiting for the whole thing to implode. The silence is suffocating, thick with the kind of guilt that doesn't need words to be felt. Jake, desperate to break it, forces a laugh and tosses out a half-hearted quip. "Well, reckon we've had enough excitement for one night, huh? Let's not tell ghost stories after this." His voice cracks on the last word, and the joke lands like a stone in a still pond. Ripples of awkwardness spreading instead of laughter. No one responds, not even with a pity chuckle. The air feels heavier now, like it's pressing us into the ground, and I can't shake the feeling that we've just shattered something that can't be pieced back together. Then I hear it. The crunch of twigs snapping underfoot, a sound that slices through the tension like a blade. My head snaps up, and there's Ethan, emerging from the shadowed edge of the woods, his arms loaded with firewood. The beam of his flashlight dances across the ground before it sweeps over us, catching his face in its glow. He looks so normal, so unaware, his rugged features softened by a cheerful grin as he calls out, "Y'all look like you've seen a bear. Got enough wood here to keep us warm till dawn." His voice is light, easy, the kind of tone that usually makes me feel safe. But right now, it's a punch to the gut. My heart slams against my ribs, each beat louder than the last, and I force my lips into a smile that feels more like a grimace. I manage to croak out, "You okay out there? Didn't get lost, did ya?" My voice cracks mid-sentence, betraying every ounce of nerves I'm trying to hide, and I pray he doesn't notice. Ethan drops the firewood near the pit with a dull thud, brushing dirt off his hands as he straightens up. He tilts his head, squinting at us in the dim light, and I can see the shift in his expression, curiosity tinged with something sharper. "What's with y'all? It's quieter than a church out here. Thought I'd come back to some rowdy card game nonsense." His words hang in the air, an innocent observation that feels like an accusation. My mind races, scrambling for something, anything, to say that won't unravel everything. "We're just tired, you know? Long day, setting up camp and all," I blurt out, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. I can't even look at him as I say it, my eyes fixed on the ground, on the scuffed toes of my boots, anywhere but his face. Marcus, of all people, jumps in to back me up, his voice low but strained, like he's forcing the words out. "Yeah, man, we're beat, just winding down now." I'm grateful for the assist, But there's an edge to his tone that makes my stomach twist tighter. The silence that follows Ethan's question is a living thing, heavy and suffocating, wrapping around me like a cold, wet blanket. My mind is a screaming mess, a whirlwind of panic and dread so loud I'm sure everyone can hear it. I open my mouth to respond, but all that comes out is a weak mumble, barely audible over the crackle of the fire. I'm just cold and tired. That's all? The words feel flimsy, like tissue paper in a storm, and I wrap my arms around myself as if that'll convince anyone I'm shivering from the mountain chill, and not from the weight of my own lies. Ethan's eyes linger on me for a moment, searching, probing, and my chest tightens so hard I can barely breathe. He gives a slow nod, like he's accepting my excuse, but there's a flicker of doubt in his expression, a shadow that tells me he's not entirely sold. Then he turns away, crouching by the fire to stoke it with a stick, the flames casting jagged shadows across his face. I watch the sparks dance upward into the black sky, and I wish I could disappear with them, vanish into the night and leave this mess behind. Inside, I'm unraveling. The guilt is a beast, gnawing at my insides with sharp, relentless teeth. Every memory of what happened earlier, those stolen moments of weakness, the reckless choices I made in the haze of the night, plays on a loop in my head, each one a fresh stab of shame. I've betrayed Ethan, the man I swore to stand by, the man whose steady presence has been my anchor for years. The disgust I feel toward myself is a bitter taste in my mouth, a poison that seeps into every thought. I'm terrified of losing everything, his trust, his love, the life we've built together. What if he finds out? What if he already suspects? The fear is a vice around my heart, squeezing tighter with every second that ticks by. I glance at the guys, hoping for some kind of reassurance, but they're no help. Jake mumbles something about needing to check the trailer, his voice gruff as he stomps off into the dark, clearly desperate to escape the tension. Marcus just stares off into the distance, his jaw tight, his eyes avoiding everyone like he's carrying his own burden of secrets. Travis and Caleb try to fill the void, tossing out forced chatter about tomorrow's hike, something about a trail with a killer view, but their voices are hollow, lacking the usual energy. It's like we're all actors in a bad play, pretending everything's fine when the stage is about to collapse beneath us. I'm so lost in my spiraling thoughts that when Ethan speaks again, it hits me like a thunderclap. His tone is casual, almost offhand, as he pokes at the fire, sending another burst of sparks into the air. You know, when I was out in the woods earlier, I could have sworn I heard something strange. Voices, maybe laughter, but it didn't sound right. Kinda off, you know? My blood turns to ice in my veins, a cold so sharp it steals the breath from my lungs. My mind flashes back to those moments I thought were hidden, the reckless whispers and stifled sounds under the cover of darkness, when I thought Ethan was too far away to hear anything. Was he closer than I realized? Did the wind carry more than I bargained for? My hands clench into fists in my lap, nails digging into my palms as I fight to keep my face neutral. I force out a response, but my voice is a trembling mess, cracking on every word. Oh, that was probably just us. Messing around. You know how we get after a few drinks. I try to laugh, but it comes out as a choked, pathetic sound, and I know I've failed to mask the fear clawing at me. Ethan looks up from the fire, his gaze locking onto mine, and for a split second, I'm frozen under the weight of it. His expression is unreadable, a mask of calm that could hide anything. Confusion, suspicion, or... As Ethan's gaze held mine by the flickering campfire, I felt like a deer caught in headlights, every muscle in my body locked tight with dread. That moment stretched on forever, his eyes searching mine for something I couldn't dare let him find. Finally, he broke the stare, shrugging with a half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Guess y'all were just having fun then, long as no one's getting hurt. His words were light, but they landed heavy, like stones dropping into the pit of my stomach. I nodded too quickly, mumbling something incoherent about needing rest, and turned away before he could see the cracks in my facade. The rest of that night was a blur, a haze of sleepless torment as I crawled into the tent beside Ethan. Lying there on the cold, hard ground, I listened to his steady breathing, so calm and even, while my thoughts raced like a wildfire I couldn't douse. Each breath he took felt like a reminder of what I'd done, of the trust I'd broken in a moment of weakness. My mind replayed every reckless choice, every whispered word and forbidden touch under the cover of darkness, a secret dance of betrayal that now clung to me like a second skin. Sleep never came, not even for a second. The weight of my guilt was a suffocating blanket, and the quiet of the mountains outside only amplified the chaos in my head. Morning broke with a pale gray light filtering through the tent fabric, and I dragged myself out of the sleeping bag, feeling like I hadn't rested at all. The air was crisp, biting at my skin as I stepped outside, but it did nothing to clear the fog of shame that hung over me. The campsite was eerily subdued as we started packing up, everyone moving through the motions with a forced politeness that felt like a charade. No one mentioned the night before, not a single word about the game or what followed, but the silence screamed louder than any accusation. Ethan's usual warmth toward me was there, but it felt strained, like he was holding something back. He'd flash a quick smile or brush my arm as we folded the tent, but his touch lacked the easy comfort I'd always relied on. It was as if he could sense the invisible wall I'd built between us overnight. Jake, who'd normally be cracking jokes before the sun was fully up, was uncharacteristically quiet, his hands busy with gear but his mouth shut tight, no trace of his usual boisterousness. Marcus wouldn't even look at me, his eyes fixed on the ground or the horizon, anywhere but my direction, as if meeting my gaze would force him to confront something he wasn't ready to face. Travis and Caleb kept their distance too, busying themselves with loading the trailer, their voices low and clipped when they had to speak at all. I felt like a stranger among these men, people I thought I knew, people I thought knew me. But now, there was this chasm between us, carved by a single night of reckless abandon, and I didn't know if we'd ever bridge it. As we dismantled the campsite, I noticed the small, painful details that cut deeper than words. The way Ethan's brow furrowed when he thought I wasn't looking, a flicker of confusion or doubt crossing his face before he masked it. The way Jake's hands fumbled with a rope, his usual confidence replaced by a nervous energy that mirrored my own. The way Marcus's shoulders hunched as he carried a cooler to the truck, like he was bearing more than just physical weight. Every gesture, every avoided glance, was a reminder of the fracture we'd created. I wanted to say something, anything, to break the tension, but my throat was tight with fear. What could I possibly say that wouldn't make things worse? So I kept silent, folding sleeping bags with trembling hands, shoving stakes into their bag with more force than necessary, trying to focus on the mundane tasks to keep my mind from spiraling further into despair. The drive home was a torture of its own. The trailer rattled behind us as we wound down the mountain roads, the beauty of the Blue Ridge outside my window now tainted by the memory of what I'd done. Those towering peaks, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.